Good afternoon on what is a cold, bright day. It is December the 2nd, Friday. In fact, it's Dragon Meat Eve. And I've got Kat, who is not ours, with me, and a nice hot cup of tea. And of course, a parcel to unbox. And this, let me show you who this is from. So, you may know the name the Merry Mushmen from the publishers of the Nook, which is the old school Renaissance magazine. So I don't think this is a new issue of the magazine, but I think it's something else. So let's find out what I've got in here. There we go, comes open nice and easy. Inside I have A Folklore Bestiary, Volume 1, inspired by folktales and superstitions by the Merry Mushmen. It's for Old School Essentials. Old School Essentials is the retro clone published by Necrotic Gnome, based upon the version of Basic Dungeons & Dragons designed by Tom Moldvay and Stephen R. Marsh, published in 1980-81, and it's my first introduction to Dungeons & Dragons. That's when I started. That was my first basic Dungeons & Dragons game, and it's been very well designed and pre-presented by Necrotic Gnome. But anyway, this is a supplement for that role-playing game. But of course, like all old school Renaissance titles, you can use it with other ones as well. Okay, so this is not a manual of monsters. Straight out of the old school and via the twisted minds and devious quills of the Nook team comes this collection of folk tales featuring monsters who never set foot in a horrific tomb or a temple full of evil elementals. These monsters come from a source close to us all that was somehow neglected by the original fantasy game, you know, Ampersand, the Ampersand brand. For some inscrutable reason, the game and its direct descendants have plundered the lands of myths and legends, looted the multiverses of science fiction and fantasy, and thoroughly raided the shores of history, but they kept away from the sleepy villages and spooky woods of our local folklores. This book is bringing folklore creatures from 3 continents into the imaginary worlds they should never have left. Along with the stories they were borrowed from, each monster is presented with the pages of material to help you drop it into your campaign, adventures, characters, layers, hooks, rumours, random tables, you name it. Within these pages you'll find mythic giants like Jack-in-Irons and Jean de Laws, trickster fairies like the Arangazet and Kabutars, strange folk like the Green Children of Walpert and the folk of the Holy City, cryptid creatures like the Dahu and the Mothman, undead like Corpusecco and the Kamakru's, dragon-like beasts like Levelu and the Serpent of Isabi, and things that defy all attempt at categorization. The Paralinsk, Donestra and Knoll, for example. Oh, and there's a snail you can explore like a dungeon. Legendary monsters for legendary games. Essentially requires old school essentials or another BX compatible game engine, and there's plenty of those to choose from. So that's quite a detailed blurb on the back. Let's have a look inside. Go. Nice cover. You know, basically somebody lost out in the woods and the mystery, fearing something out there. And we open up, you want to play now? Want to play now? These characters on the front, just inside, have a fuller illustration and full stats. That's a nice addition. It's all okay. Oh right, let's get playing now. And then we have a contents page. Beginning with the, and then we literally beyond that dive into the entries. No fuss, no mess. Get on with it. So the Bassajon, and these are all. That's a creature I've never heard of, but it's got a great illustration. So cat that's not ours is back. So you know, great illustration. You've got a beginning text. And then a couple of pages there. Hello. He really does want my attention, so I've got to give him a bit of a fuss, and he'll come because he's right up in my face. We've got a full page description there with stats, and dealing with names and kiss and stuff and so on, elements of the monster, and then we're on to this next. We've got quite a decent description and details of each of these entries. There's no space wasted. There's full details, fully illustrated. This is a really nice looking book. So let's just keep having a look through. We've got the aforementioned Kerbalter, not a gnome, definitely not a gnome, just because of the hat, or even a red cap, or even a Spriggan. So yeah, I could just flip through these, just going showing you page after page here. He doesn't want me to, of course. He wants me to use both. He pulling my hands and giving me a fuss. And then we've got Tartaro. Tartaros are one-eyed ogre shepherds roaming the wild mountains and hills of the Pyrenees. So you've got this nice bit of introduction there. Just to go, here's what it is up front. So yeah, if you don't know what the Cabotu is, then the Caboters are shy, diminutive gnomes. Eaters a gnome. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Who dwell in the Low Countries, out of sight from mundane people, were never too far from either. They love to drink and they'll gladly help someone in need in exchange for some good abbey beer or interesting liqueur. Argunguguset, small humanoid fairies, haunt seaside caves, occasionally raid surrounding human villages whose men are known to behave badly. Men behave badly, things go wrong. Who can you blame it on? It's not the women. It's getting their revenge. It's the Argunguguset. Cephalopore. Have you heard of those reverends who carry their head in their hands and how their curses related to the religious beliefs they held in life? Well, let me tell you how the first cephalopore came to be. So lots of legend and lore as well to go with these. Got the Luke Carol, sort of like a nice illustration of this, which I'll show you. Luke Carol was a gargantuan snail haunting the caves beneath the village of Hastings in southern France. I do apologise for my pronunciation. There's a lot of European folklore in there. So there we go. There's an illustration of him, and I think that's a nice inclusion here as well, because you do get a lot of right from the start. Role-playing fantasy had been Western fantasy, but there's still a lot there to look at, and I think this book is bringing it to the fore. Here are some interesting things that you can find, and into the Luke Garok. You can actually explore the snail as the giant snail as a dungeon. Almost like you've got a couple of scenarios out there where you can explore a giant whale as a dungeon. Dubyuk, an undead spirit possessing dead bodies to mingle with mortals and further its devious plots. That's not new. I've seen that before, but again, not necessarily seen it in the old school Renaissance. Bad Patsy is a master blacksmith living a solitary life in the hills, not far from Bilbao. His reputation is so terrifying reputation is so terrifying that even the devil threads carefully when walking by. I think they should be by Patsy's house, and even got a little plan of his house, and then the caverns underneath. And I think that's one creature which has come across from Nook. The Green Children of Woolpit. From a world far away came the Green Children. Who knows when more will follow them. Peaceful fairies who live underground. The Pio Shans only meddle with the affairs of mortals whose crops take over the woods. A curse makes them dangerous when the moon is dark. Map of the nest in there as well. So there's quite a lot in here. There's not just here's the monster. There's much more about these creatures here. They're quite developed. Boitata, a giant sea serpent on whose scales the history of the world is carved. Its legend was originally told by the Tupi-Guarani, a large tribe of indigenous folk people from Brazil. So it's also taking in, well, in comparison to Western Europe, fancy the New World as well. And I don't mean that dismissively, but of course, you know, it's taking in the legends that have appeared there as well. So this is a fantastic little book. I'm really quite impressed by this. Thoroughly looking forward to dig into this. The Kama and Braka cruise. The Kama cruise is a disembodied evil leg sporting an eye and a maw. We know about it from an old story coming from the Landes and Gascony region of France. The Barra cruise is its arm variation. Utterly bonkers, but you know, why not? And you know, seeing those is gonna sort of like you bring those into a game, and your players and their characters can go, what? It's going to thoroughly weird them out, I think. Here's the Jack in Irons mentioned earlier. A revenant ogre covered in chains and bearing many severed heads, haunting the nights of the high moors. And then we have the Sukaka, like a demon dog. And then Fancy Fens. You've got Eagle Island, where it can roam. And the people of the Holy City off a lonely road in the wooded hills outside a great city. Travellers report seeing pale, silent figures watching them from the trees. Some say that these sinister folk aren't all bad. If you need revenge and have nowhere else to go, they may help you. We've got a map of the Holy City, but again, this is easily dropped into, you know, your campaign however you want, because your campaign is bound to have a Holy City of some kind. The Serpent of Isabi, a titanic reptile large enough to coil itself around mountain peaks. Weapons are of little use against it, as if it seems to have endless reserves of life force. It feeds by sucking in cattle and other animals. Here we are, so large it wraps around the mountains, and you've got the little figure down there for scale. Hollowagon. In eastern French villages, in the hazy streets of German towns and in the Netherlands countryside, everyone feared to hear the wheels of the Hollowagon preying on the lost on the road in city streets. This devilish chariot was said to kidnap them and bring them to hell. Shades of the child catcher, perhaps. And then a strange creature that is the Velu. And we have the lair of the Snaggy Beast as a dungeon to explore. The strange Krat. In Estonian folklore, the Krat was described as a construct made entirely of old household implements. It usually used to steal various items for its owner, but became dangerous when it left when left without work, often turning against its creator. So, you know, almost an insectoid-like cutlery golem. So we got the Gumbaroo. A solitary beast, sometimes mistaken for a brown bear. The Gumbaroo is known for its rubbery, almost invulnerable hide. It's tended to explode when exposed to fire. Angel head, literally. Angel head, a head with angel wings, or angel wings with a head. The wolf walkers of Osirage. The folk known as the wolves of Osiri are skinwalkers, able to turn into wolves or possibly manifest their wolf cells when their human bodies slept. Contrary to what priests will tell you, their abilities don't come from the devil. Jean de Ours. From my native Pyrenees comes a legend known by many people around the world. The youth with the attributes of the bear god is so common it has to be true, right? The Queen of the Fallow Field. The Queen is a nature spirit who inhabits the only uncultivated field of the village, giving boons and banes to any who encounter her. That's a nice sort of folklore encounter in a village as you're passing through, sort of thing. Then we have the Kuka, an ancient being who resembles a humanoid alligator with stringy grey hair and sometimes takes the form of an old crone. A sorcerer's power requires the blood of the young. So great illustrations in here, including here's her layer. Then the Huyai, a legendary archer known throughout China. His divine strength and accuracy allows him to hit any target, even if that target is even in the heavens. And then the Mothman, a chimera part man, a part giant moth. It's a flying harbinger of doom that feeds upon the mercenary of it portends. And then Raider Artus, the Black King, the immortal damned hunter. Raider Artus was once a king who offended the gods. At the head of a host of dead trackers and flying hounds, he now hunts on stormy nights, happy to leave the trail of his ever-elusive prey to chase after lost travellers. So almost a darker version of Herne the Hunter, if you will. And then we have a knoll. Silent and reclusive hunters, tentacled and tubular shaped, hiding in a remote woodland, hoarding emeralds the size of your hand. And if that's not enough to intrigue your player characters, I don't know what is. And another giant Gaiant in the northern marshlands, city-states, field giants along with their regular troops. In times of peace, keeping them happy is not easy, but the work and expenses pay for themselves when war comes, and war always comes in the north. The Lupetasu is a raggedy spirit who carries in his tatters all the cares of the past year. The ritual of his capture and death allows communities to start the new year with a clean slate. So a nice sense of renewal with that creature, probably sort of like encountered annually, or encouraged to be encountered. Then we've got an adventure, Hard Times in Homburg. So that's quite lengthy. Donestra. Rumors live on an island in the Red Sea. The Donestra are psychic humanoids whose need for human flesh and great empathy are difficult to reconcile. And then we have, at last, the Makanagu Gari, a towering humanoid with a single giant eye on its head, an enormous mouth filled with hundreds of sharp teeth in its belly. Its muscular body is covered in ragged red fur and has giant, strong hands instead of feet. Anyway, I do apologise for my terrible pronunciation throughout this unboxing, but yeah, this looks, I do like a good bestiary, and here you actually get into the belly of that beast, but there's a bit more to, this is not just a straight bestiary, it's legend, stats, background, and things you can do with it and more, which I really like. And we go back to where I said at the front you've got this, the the three characters sort of like imperiled on the front cover with their full stats. On the back cover you've got the other half, and there's that. So quite nicely rounds out the book. Didn't have to add that, but it's a nice touch. So yeah, this is A Folklore Bestiary. Really nice looking book, lovely artwork, lots of interesting creatures which I think you can bring to a campaign with a bit of care, and confound your players just a little bit because they're going to be different. It's not a case of, oh no, not kobolds or orcs or this or that again, but what's that? Anyway, so yeah, that's A Folklore Bestiary by the Merry Mushmen. Do pick this up. I think if you're a fan of the old school Renaissance, this is something that you'll want to have. So first, I want to thank the Merry Mushmen for sending me a copy. Thank you very much. And then hopefully you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel containing a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. and in this case, cat who is not ours, then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing the Nook. We'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.